Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk a little bit about why the vibration or the experience of anxiety manifests and why it exists at all. What is it? So, myself, I've had a fairly intimate experience with anxiety my entire life. And so I feel like I'm highly qualified to speak about the energy of anxiety. So, the first aspect of anxiety that I want to talk about is acute, pervasive anxiety, which modern psychology would term an anxiety disorder. Okay, this is pervasive thoughts of impending doom, of unregulated kind of what if thinking that is so burdensome or so burdening that essentially it cripples you in terms of your daily activities. And it becomes the predominant thought vibration of the totality of your experience. So if this is something that you've ever gone through, you will be able to identify with what I'm saying in terms of it being all-encompassing and crippling in terms of, just as bad as having two broken legs. I mean, it really fractures the experience of your life when you are constantly ruminating on this energy, this underlying fight or flight response that is classical anxiety. So how does it happen? How does it manifest? What is it? And are there any things that we can actually do, aside from going on some sort of very numbing medication to counterbalance or counteract the energy or that low vibrational frequency of anxiety? So, first of all, what is the causality? What is the causation of this anxious feeling or these predominant thoughts that can kind of ruin our everyday experiences? First of all, a lot of anxiety will be environmental. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you grew up in kind of a chaotic environment, if there wasn't a lot of stability, if you were always looking for security and safety and didn't feel that, didn't maybe have a good community around you, or things were, again, sporadic. You never really knew what you were going to expect. Those would be environmental causes that as we grew up in, wherever we were from around the globe, that would be, in a sense, layered trauma, which would affect or enact our parasympathetic nervous system to have this fight or flight response and create this sort of panic in us, or this what if thinking, this protectionism that would cause us to always be dwelling on anxiety. Now, the other side of the coin is a predisposition to being a little bit anxious or a nervous person. And this generally comes along with a little bit more of a sensitive personality type. And sensitivity and being a more sensitive person isn't a bad thing. Sensitive people are very needed in this world. They are compassionate, they are caring, and due to their sensitivities, they're able to perceive things in a way that somebody that's not so sensitive could not, okay? So don't think that you're at a disadvantage just because you are predestined or you've been sent here with a little additional sensitivity. However, part of the Achilles heel, so to speak, of having that sensitive aspect to you is this element of that ability to fall into this nervous energy, to be a little bit more anxiety prone. Again, part of that sensitivity is somewhat that ability to overanalyze, that projection of trying to figure out what others are thinking, trying to see if you're good enough, again, back to that sort of sensitivity. And if you have both things, if you end up in kind of a chaotic environment and you're predestined or you are sort of a sensitive personality type, that could be the winning combination that could propel you into an anxiety disorder or a state of perpetual anxiety. Now, there are other factors. Obviously, there are things in terms of diet, exercise, lifestyle that would affect how we would feel as well. And those are always things that when we're analyzing, what could be the source of our anxiety. So anything that is going to destabilize your system, drinking alcohol, it's a depressant and it will cause your nervousness or your nerves to be a little bit ungrounded. Having a poor diet, again, the system is, there's a totality in it, and what you put into the system is what you get out of it in terms of functioning. So you want to eat really, really high quality meals. Stay away from junk food if you are suffering with any type of anxiety. Some of the foods that are more calming in terms of an anxious personality type would be more of a raw, vegetarian, whole-based food diet. It's going to help in terms of your mental functioning, your overall functioning, okay? And there are so many different diseases that can be reversed through a whole foods-based diet, okay? And don't take my word for it. There's lots of great documentaries out there, a lot of research papers that really back up this fact, okay? Now, in terms of additional substances, things like cannabis, marijuana, any kind of other recreational drugs, not ideal if you are an anxious person. The other one I'm going to mention is any kind of caffeine. I stay 100% away from anything that is caffeinated, teas, coffees, chocolates, because again, that is going to make you a little bit jittery. If you're prone to anxiety, it's going to make you more anxious. It's just part of it. It's not that these things are bad for you necessarily, but if you are trying to calm yourself down, not ideal, okay? Then there is the patterning in terms of our thoughts. So when we are thinking negative, worrisome, what if, catastrophic type thoughts, and that is the predominant synthesis of our consciousness, well, what we feed our consciousness, what we ruminate on, becomes again the predominant program that we're running. That's the way the brain works. It essentially likes thoughts we think regularly. So if it's regular thought patterning that you're creating, you're going to find you get more of that. And it's that simple. So again, in terms of cognitive behavioral therapy, if we're looking at utilizing this really amazing technique, first of all, there's a lot of really great psychologists that will work with you in terms of cognitive behavioral therapy. But if you don't have access, or you don't have the funds, or you don't have the time, you can actually really work with this cognitive training yourself. So what is it? What is cognitive behavioral therapy? It's exactly what it sounds like. All it is practicing high vibrational thoughts over and over and over again. Practicing your brain and training your brain to think positively, to think calmly. So there's things that we can do. Things like meditation, okay, mindfulness, focusing on the now moment, bringing yourself back into exactly where you're existing in this moment, not projecting your mind out into the unforeseeable future, not taking yourself back into the past where you may have experienced a traumatic event or some sort of anxiety, but holding your focus in the now moment. Then utilizing that powerful moment of now to meditate, to think in terms of high vibrational thought forms, visualization, creating essentially fantasy environments mentally, which will train your brain to go into a higher state of functioning, a higher state of thinking. And a lot of times people that are daydreamers, or they have their head in the clouds, they can be criticized in society. And this is actually incorrect. If anybody is criticizing you for going into the landscape of your mind and utilizing it to take you or transport you into a beautiful place, that is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Don't let anybody make fun of you or tell you that you're doing that wrong. That is exactly the way to change your psychology. The more you think really great thoughts and the more that you imagine the world as a beautiful, safe, comforting place that is supportive of you, that is loving of you, the more you're going to actually see those things show up. Now, this sort of has a dualistic aspect to it. Part of it is where attention goes, energy flows. So if you are thinking good thoughts, you're actually going to be paying attention to more good things in your environment. And as you pay attention to these good things, you'll notice more good things. But as a cool byproduct of this, the other thing that's going to happen is because you are noticing these good things in your environment, your blessings essentially, you're actually going to be a much more magnetic, charismatic, happy person to be around. So you're going to find more people give you a positive response. And when more people give you a positive response, you're going to start interpreting the world in these positive feedback loops as the fact that the world is mirroring back to you a more safe environment. And again, this has a cumulative effect because as more great things happen to you, you build that confidence that the world is a beautiful place. And all of this hard work is done to this cognitive therapy, this emotional work that you're doing, the mental stimulation that you're doing, and that logical intelligence work that you're doing as well. Because it's not just one of our systems that has to have this very important belief that we are safe, that we are loved, okay? The logical mind, the conscious mind needs to believe it, but we also have to feel it. So our heart, which is our feeling organ, which also has neuroreceptors in it, has to feel it as well. And when we have that brain-heart connection in terms of our external experience, we really start to fundamentally believe it. And when this belief happens, what we'll notice as part and parcel to it is that slowly and surely our anxiety, our panic attacks, our experience of the world being a very frightening, horrible place that we want to retreat from starts to open up. Our opportunities start to blossom, our self-confidence starts to blossom, and we start to feel like that more and more beautiful out manifestation of really, truly who we are. Because our divine state, the way in which each human being is supposed to experience life is truly a beautiful emanation of that experience. It shouldn't be filled with anxiety. It shouldn't be filled with panic and this dread for getting up in the morning or doing simple tasks. So I don't want to say that this is an extremely easy journey. I want to pick my words well, because again, anybody that has ever dealt with anxiety disorder or dealt with the feeling of panic attacks or this impending doom, it is a very real state in terms of your consciousness, in terms of what you're experiencing, and it's very painful. So I don't want to make light of it. All I want to do in this video is really let you know that there's a lot of things that you can start to do, in the comfort of your own home that are very empowering, that do work. Focusing on your thoughts, raising that vibration, eating as much a whole foods-based diet as you can, getting as much exercise as you can. I try to do 2 gym workouts a day, really helps in terms of balancing the equilibrium in my life. Now, calm and peaceful environments, okay? Setting up environments that are non-chaotic. I can't exist very well when things are disorganized and chaotic. So one of the things that I really know for me helps with my anxiety is keeping everything really clean and organized, so I'm never putting myself into that frantic energy. Some of the last things that I do are supplementation, okay? There's a lot of really amazing supplements that I take in terms of keeping my brain and body function. I take a lot of medicinal mushrooms, so lion's mane, turkey tail. Usually there's, like a 15 mushroom blend that I take in sort of a tea. That's great. I love utilizing coenzyme Q10, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin C, of course, the B complex vitamins, niacin, hopefully I said that one. There's several amino acids that I take, L-lysine. At some point, I will make a video with all of the supplements that I use for my brain body health that I think, again, would be really helpful to those of you that are trying to get the best output in terms of your mental constitution. I do feel that supplements have really upped my game in terms of keeping myself calm. Last but not least, in terms of would be meditation, sitting mindfully, as well as self-hypnosis. So self-hypnosis is a great tool that can really start to train your brain to getting into this lower kind of peaceful state where, again, you're really practicing relaxation. And there's a lot of great self-hypnosis videos on YouTube that are completely free. You can do them a couple times a day. 10 minutes is enough for me, but again, it's just in training your brain to go into this state so it becomes a natural way of being for yourself. And another thing that I want to bring up before I conclude this video is community. So it is very, very important to be around others, to experience that energy exchange of that loving, warm, supportive energy. Now, depending on, what stage of the game, what circumstances you are in life, you may or may not have a large family circle or a large social circle, okay? If this is the case, I suggest you get out there in some capacity. There are always beautiful church groups you can go to, activity groups, meetups, and push the envelope a little bit. As you start feeling comfortable, a little bit more comfortable with your own anxiety levels, getting yourself into positive environments. Art is fantastic. I love doing art. Getting into groups where, again, you're sharing really positive ways of sharing your energy with others. So music, art, reading groups, any kind of outlet like that. Sports is fantastic. Stay away from utilizing alcohol as a way to connect with others. This can sometimes be an easy way to, I guess, transport yourself into a social environment, but it has catastrophic effects. And it's something that I would actually suggest against if you have anxiety, because when you are utilizing alcohol as a crutch in terms of your own interconnection, first of all, you never really make a deep connection when you're drinking with somebody. It's inauthentic and you're not really being your true self, your true authentic self. And you'll notice that, again, when drinking is the main activity, the connections really don't have a depth to them and people don't form deep bonds this way. So that would be the only caveat I would say in terms of your social interactions. Any words of encouragement are that, you're not suffering alone. Anxiety is a real thing. It is, to me, no different than having a broken leg. It needs time to heal. It is due to, environment. It's due to also, your own sensitivities, but both of those things you can work on. You can always work on your environment. You can always improve your circumstances. And if you are sensitive, that's a beautiful gift, but you can always work on the things that can help to augment your brain and how you function and see the world. So I'm going to wrap this video up, but in terms of your manifestation journey, just remember that practice makes perfect. And don't get frustrated with yourself if you are experiencing anxiety, if you are experiencing worry. That's a normal part of Earth's journey. And it is a challenge for you to teach yourself how to rise above it. And you definitely are capable of rising above it. It just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of diligence. Okay, guys, have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.